Good evening, everybody. Sometimes I feel really nervous before I give a talk. And when we were chanting and this is one of those evenings, that last line, may we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. I worry that I won't do justice to this very precious Dharma. And that's the source of my nervousness. Tonight I'm going to talk about the third of the eight awakenings of great beings. So, I talked about the first is having few desires. The second is knowing that we have enough, knowing satisfaction. And then the third is enjoying serenity. But that second one, knowing that we have enough, is also at the basis of my nervousness. Sometimes I think that in a position, in the role of teacher, it's easy for me and you to think that I know something that you don't. And the longer I'm in this role, the more I appreciate how little I know. How little it's not just, it's not just really knowing the teachings, the Dharma teachings, but really understanding the, how to live them genuinely and with great modesty. So really this enjoying serenity as the third of the great awakenings, of the eight awakenings, is connected to that sense of modesty. The self that can, for so many years, and did for me, has for me, led, can step back, and does step back when we experience serenity. So enjoying serenity is powerfully challenging. One of the things, years ago I was at a retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh, and I was so surprised when he talked about how we really need to cultivate a taste for serenity, a taste for peace. It's something we have to cultivate. And I was just very struck by that. I don't know why. I just thought it was kind of going to naturally come along with practice. But really paying attention to what that is, what peace of mind, peace of heart, peace in the heart is it's very important to look into it. It's not something that it doesn't lie outside. It's not something that we get that was out there and we find it and we bring it into ourselves. It is innate. This quality of our own mind, this ability to put down all of the excessive involvement with a self and be able to be just very, very simply present with any condition in all conditions. We can discover a peaceful heart. The mind of refuge can be our choice. when the suffering confusion of the world knocks us out of equilibrium. And we can return once we've really realized, once we have, it has become our own realization. It's always available. It's always available because it is at the simplest, central, still point of our inmost experience. So before I go any further, let's just take a minute, all of us, and maybe close your eyes so that you don't get absorbed in looking around. Instead, you look directly into your own heart at the moment, directly into this inmost experience. Which registers the senses, sound, touch, temperature, the flow of breath, and you notice that none of this is dependent on thinking. This is directly available. Always right here. And so this is something that you can settle into ever more fully. And with this this possibility comes the reason, the emphasis on Zazen is because we need to value what is innate, what is elementally ours. And therefore we must, to get there, we need to experience it undistracted. And sometimes it's more possible to embody this more fully when we are with a room full of other people doing it. This is a body practice, as Sogen has been emphasizing. The energy of life becomes available to us through this embodiment. So when we say enjoying serenity is the third of the 8 awakenings, of enlightened beings, of great beings, we're bringing up that that word enlightenment, which is so tricky. But it is pointing to this realization of this aspect of mind, wide open, ever emerging, which naturally releases us from the binds of conceptual thinking and mistaking thought, belief, intention, all of the products of the will, the self-will, for the whole of life. When we know that we know this still point at the center of everything, when we are not fooled by the nature of ever-changing conditions, but we know their nature. We're not fooled by conditions. We are free to fully engage with any condition that comes our way, with wisdom and clarity. But most of us, myself, you, all of us, I think, are usually distracted by this cacophony of not only our thoughts, but all the sense data, all of the social pressures, everything that's going on, everything that's on our agenda. It gets in the way and binds us up. It binds us up in tension and in the narrative of difficulties. A world that is so separated out, a world out there that's so problematic. It gets in the way of appreciating what's actually true and what is simply conditioned. The conditioned moment is true and temporary. The conditions are always changing. But the tendency is to perch in the conditions. You know, we have a job, so it's always the same. We go to the same place, we do the same tasks. We have the same meetings, we work with the same people, we have the same feelings and reactions and all of that. So we lose track of the impermanence of it, the whole thing. We lose track of what is not conditioned, the non-conditioned, the still wide open point at the heart of all of our life. So this enlightened mind, which we cultivate in practice, is not independent of conditions, but is found right in the very conditions themselves. We're never apart from wide open awareness. We can bring our the wise eye, the wisdom eye, to all conditions, and redeem the immense spaciousness that permeates all things, all conditioned things, all impermanent things. So I wanted to go through one of the teachings of, go back to the three worlds, the teachings of the three worlds. the world of desire, the world of form, and the world of formless. And all conditioned things belong in these realms of form. All forms are temporary. The formless, such as a thought, a feeling, an idea, is dependent on everything else. And the world of desire, the realm of desire, which is how we generally relate to everything. I like it, I don't like it. I want it, I don't want it. It's not what I thought. I'm not able to do that. There's all these desires and beliefs about everything, where we stand in relation to all these things. There's a term, hakomi, which is also a modern day form of therapy, but it is a Lakota word, I think, which means where I stand in relation to all these things. And that's a beautiful poem about emptiness, really. Because everything's changing. We're always standing in relation to all these things continually in changing ways. So the getting caught up in the conditioned world is where we suffer. If we have only that view, if we are bound by that view, we just have suffering, and we try to find solutions to this sense of suffering and dissatisfaction and alienation. Shogun and I were just at a teachers' meeting up at the monastery, and Chosen said over and over again that the primary teaching is impermanence, which I thought, that just struck me as interesting. It's like, yeah, but if you look at everything from that perspective, it's very freeing. It's very freeing. In the Vinaya, which is it's part of the Pali Canon that deals with the life of being an ordained person, a monastic. It says, the Dharma of gathering together is the Dharma of falling apart. So it's a good thing to remember. It's a good thing to remember. And it's also something that contains in the imagery impermanence. It's always flowing. What comes together falls apart. Comes together, falls apart. Not to, and the result of that is actually not so much to make us feel like, whatever, it's all going to pass anyway, just a kind of non-caring. Instead, it kind of inflames the tenderness of the heart, I think. It's this now. How precious, how precious. How grateful I am to be here with you right now. Maybe this is the last time. I hope not, but we just don't know. And there's something in that, how precious, that also is the same as serenity. How precious. It's not going anywhere. It's right here. How precious. So the conditions that mark suffering are birth and living, aging, sickness, and death. And birth and living are included because living is not always a pleasure. Actually, sometimes it's far from a pleasure. Anytime I think about what's going on in the world, I get directly in touch with what is not a pleasure at all. And I become deeply disturbed by the intense suffering that is brought about through ignorance, the ignorance of the true condition. What a waste. What a waste of an opportunity. An opportunity to live together, to discover how to live together peaceably. And all of the intense imagination and resourcefulness that's required to do that, to provide for everyone. It takes everything we've got to be able to envision that. And it's one thing that we can do during a time like this, is to envision what is needed to live peaceably together. And that's one thing that we explore together in Sangha. We don't live together with no conflict, no attitude toward each other. But it is not the most important thing. And we learn how to talk in a way that is peaceable and how to listen. And in the listening, each of us grows into our own self, our own true self, our own true way of being. We listen to each other, appreciating the differences rather than faulting the other for not being just like me. So there are the different kinds of suffering that come with birth and living and aging and sickness and death. Having to separate from what you love is one of the categories of suffering. Having to experience something you loathe, definitely something that we all have to experience. Not getting what you want, often that's the case. Losing physical vigor is one of those things that is kind of bitter about aging. It's not having the vigor of body or mind. I can attest to it. You've noticed that I can't usually call up vocabulary, which I used to have at my fingertips at all times. And then, we live with all sorts of discrimination, some of which we personally experience, some of which we don't. We are living in a time of power being exerted in ways that is deliberately intimidating, creating fear and division, driving ourselves into our most diminished presence. The incredible uncertainty of the economics of this time is something that we all experience, and also it takes up a lot of time at board meetings. How are we going to meet diminishing funds, should that come about? And then the stuff that's going on internationally, very concerning. All of this has happened before, but never when I was alive. Not the way it is now. So, it's a story. Yeah, this has all gone on. It's all gone on since human beings came forth. And it's not just human beings who do all of this. So, one of the things in the teachings, it says, what is serenity? So what is needed for serenity is living in a quiet place apart from all the noise and clamor. Really? Do we mean that? In what sense is that meant? Initially, we all want to go into the country, into the woods and all of that, which is wonderful. And we do tend to feel much more serene when we are among our elders, the trees, the animals, the insects. But I don't think it just means that. It means, what is that still point? What is that quiet place apart from all the noise and clamor? And knowing that for ourselves is really important. It's what we do, what we cultivate in this practice. This is the refuge. Not to withdraw from the world, because we're also we hold the understanding that everything that we do contributes to the collective life, and we need to engage that in whatever conditions we're presented with to do well by others, to respond to the needs, to let go of our self-absorption, which is a profound sense of suffering, to be very self-absorbed. When you get really sick, if you've been really sick, you get really self-absorbed. It's part of being sick. And one of the wonderful things about recovering is, you can be out there and not be so self-absorbed anymore. So discovering this wholeness, this one, there is a koan that says, all things return to the one. What does the one return to? Now that koan is a pretty vast question to live into. It's one of my favorites. But before we go, what does the one resolve into? What is the one referred to? And the one referred to, in my understanding, is exactly what we're talking about when we discover serenity. The one who drops away and opens into the vast inner secret treasure place that is still and whole and released. And what a gift. So that's one reason why we keep, admonishing each other to sit. Be sure you're sitting. Be sure you remember to really sit, to really take this seriously, to really do it. Not just sit and kind of la 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 la, which is also, it happens. But the more we remember the possibilities of this simple method, the more we can realize the treasures. So when we're caught up in all of the conditioned world and conditioned mind, I think of that as being caught up in comparing mind, always comparing in all kinds of ways. And it's a worthwhile study this week to notice as you go through your days all the different forms that comparing mind takes. The shoulds That's a comparison. I want to do that. I want to something else, right? I want to do this. I don't want to do that. Those are all comparisons. If only I had, if only you had, if only they had, all the ways that we hide out is another way of comparing. Showing up, hiding out. Showing up, hiding out. Or covering over something, not letting something be seen. Maybe that's one reason why I started by saying that I was nervous, because I think I haven't been real enough. You know, we're all real. I may not know you're real yet, but I'm really getting to know my own real. And this practice does not put aside real. In fact, it opens the doors wide and gives us a lot of guidance. Thus, our emphasis on precepts. How to handle real. Carefully, with skill, with sensitivity, with finesse, fineness. So let's see, anything else? So becoming who we truly are. One of the koans is, who am I? Who am I? And we can ask that as though we'll discover who I am, as though I'm one thing. But the beauty of that koan is that it is living. Who am I at this moment? And when you really are allowed to live your own life, your own true life, then you discover many parts of yourself that may never have seen the light of day before, and feel very relieved to be able to add the gifts of those different aspects to what we offer to the world. So becoming who we truly are is no easy practice, but it's maybe the only worthwhile practice, as far as I'm concerned. It's an incredible gift to have a way, to have companionship, to have the encouragement to be who we truly are. And therefore to be able to really enjoy serenity. Because we're not fighting against who we really are any longer. We can just take each step with wonder at, like, oh, what's this going to be?